and welcome to my channel. I'm Tammy Ozturk, designer of badbobbin.com, and I'm here today to show you how to make the 3D flower zipper pouch. This is the 5x7, and this happens to be the double 6-point flower. It's a fully lined bag. We have with a loop, optional if you want to make a wristlet bag, or you can leave it off. It's up to you. This will be done with rivets and how to put them on with the rivets, how to make the flowers, how to make the whole bag from start. So this is available on my website at badbobbin.com, and we'll be headed over to the cutting table to show you what you'll need to make this cute 3D flower zipper pouch. Okay, here's a few of the items that we're going to need for the zipper bag, for our 3D flower zipper bag. I've got printed out both pages, the ones with the flowers to get the idea, and then where the guides are for the flowers. There'll be 1 large, 4 medium, and 2 smalls. Okay. I've got my 3 tearaways with my hoops. I'm in 3 hoopings. We've got our vinyls cut out and our liners cut out. And for the flowers, you have different options you can do depending on the vinyl you use, or whatever the fabric you are going to use. I really suggest vinyl because it's going to be wearing and tearing on the outside of your zipper bag. So this one happens to have a real soft flannelly-like, fleece-like backing. So I may just do this without putting a backing, which would be your felt. And I'm using a thin type felt. You don't want to do a real thick one, you want a thin felt. So depending on your vinyl, you'll have a backing of felt. If it's a nice backing, you don't need it. If it's kind of an ugly with writing or something, then you'll want to put a backing on it. So I've got the backing and my vinyl piece cut out. And for the horizontal bag with our 6-point flowers, that is 7.5 by 4. So this piece will be 7.5 by 4, along with our felt piece, 7.5 by 4. Then we have our vinyl pieces for our bag. So we've got the panel piece, which will be our second hooping, which is going to be the design of the leaves and the stems, and then the markings of where we're going to attach our 3D flowers. So this piece here, I've got cut out at 6.5 by 8.5. So it's just a little bit bigger so that I can cut off the top line and make it a straight edge that's going to go up near the zipper. Then I've got my 1.5 piece by 8 inches for the top of the zipper, and then the back piece of the bag will be a 6 by 8. So it's a 5 by 7 bag, so I'm cutting my piece of 6 by 8, which is giving me that 1/2 inch all around. So that's my vinyl. Then I've got my liner inside, which the liner inside I've got my 1 full piece for the backing, which this will be also a 6 by 8. Then I've got the top of where the zipper is and the bottom. So the top part I do about a 1/2 inch hem, 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch hem to give it a nice rounded edge. And then the same thing with my bottom piece. So the top piece I cut at 8 by 2 inches, and then the bottom part I'm cutting this one with the hem at 5.5 by 8. So it gives me that 1/2 inch in here too for the hem, and enough to hang over. So this is my liner. Then I've got my scissors, my small curved 2-inch scissor, or 4-inch scissor, sorry. I have a part for the D-ring. I used a little scrap piece of the vinyl bag so that it will match. So this is my part for to put the wristlet onto and connect it. So it'll be the D-ring for the side. Then I got my straight edge. I got a zipper. I'm going to be using a 7-inch zipper. I think it's 7. I think they might call this an 8-inch, or a 7-inch zipper. So this is going to be just fitting in my hoop. Normally, for those that aren't experienced with zippers, I would use a 9-inch or more. So 9-inch zipper or more. We have a rivet set. I have the hand portion for setting it, along with the machine. So I'm going to show you both ways. I'll go ahead and do a B-roll of showing you the table press that I use for rivets, or also doing the table hammer set. So I've got my rivets, which will be what's holding on the flowers to the panel for our 3D flowers. And I just have my rotary and a straight blade to cut across the top to make that nice straight edge for my zipper. So we're all set. This is everything we need. We're going to head on to the machine, and there's 3 hoopings, so there's 3 times we'll be at the machine, and a few times we'll be back here at the table when we're going to be cutting out our flowers. Then the second one will be attaching our flowers to the panel, and then the third time we'll be back here assembling the bag and turning it and showing you how it turned out when it's all done. So I'll see you at the machine. Alright, we're at the machine. We're going to do our first hooping. And like I said, there's 3 different variations on how we can do this portion right here. So the first thing we're going to actually stitch out will be our placement line of where we're going to place these. So let's stitch that out first, and then I'll tell you the rest. Okay, so this is where we have our different variations on this one. You can either put your felt on the bottom and our vinyl on top, sandwiching the stabilizer. If you don't want the stiffness of the stabilizer, you can put floating both your pieces of vinyl and felt on top and sew that out, and then you'll just tear the tear away from the bottom out. Depending on your vinyl itself, depending on the backing, on how nice of a backing you have or how thin you want your flowers on your bag, you can leave it with just the vinyl itself, sew it out, and then tear the tear away off. This one has a really nice flannelly, fleecy feeling to it, so you can almost leave like this without any felt, but I'm going to go ahead and use both. And what I'm going to do, it'll be a little extra work for us, but I'll speed that part up when I get to it. I'm going to go ahead and float these on top of our stabilizer to see how that works, and we'll be tearing our stabilizer away afterwards. Grab my tape. Forgot to have tape ready. I usually do. Sorry. So I'm going to tape 2 corners down just to kind of keep it in where it needs to stay. Alright. I've got that taped down, secured, and we're going to go ahead and put it back in the machine, and we're going to sew out our flowers, and this one is the 6 double point flowers for the horizontal zipper bag. Here we go. Alright. And we're done. This one takes a little long. Probably about, well, this is 1,000 stitches per minute, and it says 18 minutes. So it could be a little bit longer on yours, but we're all done. We have 3 different sizes. We have 1 large, 4 medium, and 2 smalls, and that's what it looks like. And then we'll just go ahead and tear this out. I will show that back at the table for you. So let's head back to the cutting table. Alright, we're back at the cutting table. And what we're going to do is go ahead and remove it out of our hoop. We're going to remove the stabilizer. So this is where some designs work this way and don't. So lesson learned for us on this one. Tearing the stabilizer away, it looks like we're going to have a hard time getting all this little stabilizer out between, I mean, you have to use your tweezers or hemostats to do this. So it's just going to leave the back looking terrible, and because of all this tight sewing in there, it's just not going to work. So our best bet would have been to just go ahead and put the stabilizer in between the two. That would have been a lot better, and then we would have had a nice finish on the back. So with the 3 different options that there were, I think the best thing would be is to put that stabilizer in the middle for this one. Some flowers might be simple without a lot of detail in it, and if it's simple without all that detail, then maybe the stabilizer would have come out a lot better. So I'm just going to remove all the stabilizer, and we're going to go ahead and cut our flowers out, and we want to cut them as close as we can without cutting into the stitching. So we want it to make it look, you know, nice and have an even cut around our flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and cut our flowers and try to remove as much stabilizer. Okay, we have all our flowers cut out. We're ready to go with these. So we're just going to make sure that there's no little threads hanging out. We're going to go ahead and, you know, burn them, singe them, make sure the fronts are nice, no double threads. Oh, we got a little one here. So just want to make sure the front of our flowers look nice. And no little threads. And we're ready to go with these. We're going to go ahead and sew out our panel piece that we're going to attach these to, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to attach these. See you at the machine for the next set. Okay, we're back at the machine. This is our second hooping, and I'm going to tack down, and I'm going to use a little bit of a tacky spray on this one, just to keep it in place for a second. Just a light little spray. And I'm going to center it in my hoop. This is for the 5x7 again. I'm going to center it, and I'm going to, you can either tape it down if you want, or tacky spray like I do, or if you want to just try to float it and let it go. I do the tacky spray so that it stays a little bit on that stabilizer, and there's no less chance of buckling or pulling in, that type of thing. So this one on the multi-needle, which is 1,000 stitches per minute, says about 27 minutes for the stitch out on this one, so it might be a little bit longer on yours. This one's going to do our leaves and our little floral buds, and then it'll have placement lines on where we're going to put our 3D flowers. So go ahead and let it stitch out. Alright, we're finished with this. We're going to go ahead and go back to the cutting table, and we'll tear the tear away and show you the cutting lines and how to prepare your panel and get the flowers put on it. Alright, we're done stitching out. What we're going to do is remove it from the hoop, remove all the stabilizer, trim the stitching off the back, the little loose ends, and singe them. Alright, so I got most everything off. It's fine. It's not going to be seen anyways. This will be underneath. It's just to get rid of most of the bulk off of it. And then I have two lines up here on the top that were stitched. Some of the threads came out as I was pulling the stabilizer, but you can see where they were. You want to cut a straight edge right below that stitching. That's going to be your top straight edge on your zipper. So you can go like right below it this way, or you can cut it this way. I'm going to cut this way since the ruler will sit flat and won't be bulked by the stitching. I'm going to take my rotary, I'm going to go right on the other side of the stitching, that stitch line, and I'm going to go straight across. That is a straight line. If you want to stay on that line, you'll be perfectly straight, ready for the panel to go in for your designs or pouch. So I cut straight. That will be my straight edge on the zipper, like I said. Alright, get rid of that. We're done with that cutting. And there's also a guideline right here. We're not going to cut on this guideline. This guideline is just going to be placing our right and left in the hoop once we start laying this panel on. We want to make sure that we're going to be right inside that stitch line, right at it. And we're going to make sure that we're placing our flowers in the right way so that when we do place it, it's not going to stitch over the petal. So everything's cleaned up and we're ready to go. I have different, I have 3 different size flowers, 1 large, 4 mediums and 2 smalls. And I also have, oh, that made it go blurry, sorry. Different size rivets, and I also have gem rivets. So what I'm going to do is, in my big flower, I want to use a gem one. I think that would look kind of neat, giving it a different, twist to it. So on my larger flower, I think I'm going to do 1 gem, and then the rest of my flowers, I'm going to go ahead and do the plain rivets. I have 8 and 6. So these are 8mm with a snap cap, so it's double cap. So I'm going to go ahead and use 4 of the 8s, and then I think I'll do for the smaller flowers, I'm going to go ahead and do a 6 on that one. You can do all 8s across if you want, or you can do all 6. It's up to you, whatever size rivets you have. I'm just going to mix it up a little bit on my design. Maybe it'll add a little dimension and something different to it. So my small ones I'm going to do 6. The medium size I'm going to do my 8s, and then my large one I'm going to go ahead and do a gem, and this gem or rhinestone is an 8 also. And when I'm saying 8 or 6, I'm talking about millimeters. Alright. We're good. Check them all, make sure that, whoops, for some reason I put that back. There we go. Okay, we're all set. I'm going to show you both ways to do it. My set came with a rivet setter. And I'm going to show you both ways how to do it manually. I have a board that I use to do it on, so I don't get into my table or anything. So I have a board, my hammer, and this set, and then I'll also show you how to do it in the table press, a cam snap table press that has the rivets dies in there to do rivets. When it comes to the gem one, I would not really want to do a hammer one. If you do the hammer, make sure you put like felt or something on top so you're not going to ruin that gem. I'm going to do that one inside my press. So I have to punch my holes. You can either use the tool that it comes with and your hammer, and that will go in the center and you'll hammer a hole. I have a leather hole punch. You can get these at Harbor Freight. You can buy them on Amazon. It's called a leather hole punch. And the holes, you don't want to be larger than your rivets, because then they'll pull out. Like if you're doing something where it's going to be pulling, like on the mini bags, you really want to make sure that hole is not bigger than your rivet. You want it to be snug or just a little bit smaller. So I'm using the 3/32 on my punch, and that's just going to be a little bit smaller, but enough that these will snug in, and once they're pressed down, they're not going to pull out or fall out. So I have my diagram I printed out that shows the different holes, where they're at. You can see where they're sewn on your vinyl panel. And then I also went ahead and made a diagram for you so that you can see where the flower sizes would be placed. The large flower is going to be at the center at the bottom here, and then you've got your medium flowers and then your smaller flowers. And they can be turned. They don't have to be the same direction. I have most of them turned so that they would lay and fall in with each other. Like the one here, you're going to be right at the side of the zipper bag, and you don't want to have that petal sticking out like I said before. So you want to make sure that your flower is just turned the right way so that the stitching isn't going to hit that line. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to punch my holes in my panel, and I'm going to punch them in the flower as well. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and punch the holes in my flowers. I'm going to go right in the center. It's okay to cut the threads. Give it a good push. You can always singe the back with a lighter if it cuts through the threads and you're worried about it fraying or anything. You can go ahead and always just singe a little bit with your lighter, and that'll kind of melt up the end so it doesn't fray on you. We have our flowers punched, and we have our panel punched. Move that away. And this I would use if you're going to use the punch. As you can see, I've already done one through here. That's so it doesn't go through your table. So you would do the same thing. You would just go ahead and take your punch. If you don't have the leather punch, you take the small one that it comes with. And the same thing, you would put in the hole, and then you would go ahead and hammer down on it a few times to get it to go through, and you'll see it goes into your wood. By that time, you know it's gone through your fabric. So that was how you would use this. I also have a video in the list on how I use, or how we do the rivets in a wristlet, and how I've done the rivets on the mini bag as well. And all this the same basic concept of using it with a hammer or using it with the press, and I've showed it both ways in that as well. So I'm now going to go ahead and I'm going to show you the one way with the hand setter, not with the table press. And you've got your bottom piece here, and this one happens to come with the 6 and the 8. So we have the 8 is the larger, your 6 is smaller, and I'm going to go ahead and do the little small ones, the 6. So I'm going to make sure I have the smaller one here. The tool for punching, or not punching, I'm sorry, this is the tool for setting. It has a divot in one end. So you want to make sure that divot is the end that we're going to use for the cap of our rivet. And then there's a concave side, which is the side we're going to use our hammer with. So we'll take one of our flowers, and I'll go ahead and start with the top one here. I know it's going to be a medium-sized flower, so I'm going to use the medium one. And I'm going to put a rivet in, and it's easier to work this way on top and keep my pieces together. So I'm going to put our rivet in the center. Looks kind of cute. That's the center of our flower. I'm going to put it through our hole. And at this point, this is when you want to adjust and turn your flower so it's not going to hit into that stitch line. All right. Let's see. I think I'm going to turn it. There we go. Just enough so it's not going to hit that stitch line there. And you can always trim a little bit if you haven't cut enough. You can always trim a little bit on this so that it's not going to hit that stitch line. All right, and I'm going to put my bottom cap in, or sorry, I don't have to do it. They will snap on. You'll hear it snap, and it's not together until you actually hammer it. Once you hammer it, then it'll squish down and be solid. Right now it's just snapped on there. It's going to fall off. It will peel off, or tear off. If you pull your flower, it's going to pop off. So it is not set until we actually hammer it. Okay. I'm going to have it set in there. Sorry. This is not the medium. Sorry, the medium size has the 8-inch, or the 8 mm, so it's the little bit larger one. And I make sure it's seated in the bottom there. I can feel it that it's sitting inside, and I'm going to make sure that this is seated on top. And make sure my flower is turned the right way, how I want it. And then we're going to hammer a few times, and you'll feel it crush down. Double check it. It is smashed down, smashed down. It should lift the flower just a little bit too to give it a 3-dimension. If you noticed, once it's pushed down in, that it's actually giving it a little push up. So there we go. We have our first flower. This is our 3-dimensional, and it's not going to turn on you, so it's snug and it's there. So we're going to go ahead and I'll do one more showing you how this is done, and then I'll go ahead and do it on the press. We'll do a small one this time. And this one I'm using the little 6mm ones in the center. And this flower here is going to go down towards the bottom. I'm going to put it through my vinyl, and I'm going to take my end cap, and I'm going to snap it on. Did a little snap. So it's there. It's there, so you're not juggling it, but it's still not set. And I'm going to flip it over because this one is the 6. And we're going to seat it. You want to make sure it's seated in there. When you're laying it down, you want to make sure it's seated. I'm going to go ahead and put my tool and make sure my tool is seated. And you want to hold this firmly. You don't want it to bounce, and then you end up getting this not seated right underneath, and you end up crushing it. So there we go. And it's set. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and do the other ones and get them in the press. So I'm here at my press. So I've put the jewel in, and I've added the backing to it. And I'm going to go ahead and, this one has a protection. This is the table press, the DK93 heavy duty. This one has the changeable dies that can come out. It comes with an adapter that goes in the bottom for your snaps. This is the die that I've purchased for the actual rivets, and it comes with the top piece that actually screws in and screws out. So this is the DK93 with the adjustables. So it's a pretty good device. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in and make sure it's seated at the bottom. You can feel it rocking in the bottom if it's seated. And then we're going to slowly come down and make sure we're centered. And we're going to go ahead and give a little push, and we're set. So that's my one with the jewel in it. I think it's going to add a little bit of sparkle to it, or you can put jewels in all of them. It's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and do my next flowers here. You put the rivet into the center. We're going to add it into the middle where this one is going to be placed according to my guide. We're going to add the back piece. You'll feel it snap in. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it in the press. Make sure that the bottom is seated, and I can feel it in there. It's seated right. and we're going to hold it a little bit till we just gradually come down, and then give it a nice little push. All right. Put it in the center. We're going to add it into, and we can turn it. Like I said, you want to turn it. I want my little bud down there to kind of show through, so I'm going to turn it so that it shows. There we go. Add the back piece. Hear it snap. There we go. We'll seat it. Make sure it's seated. My table press is actually on the bench with a pulley. You've seen it in my other video. You can see how it's done or made. Or not how it's made, but how it looks. And you just push down with your foot. So I'm not using my hands. There we go. And that one's seated in good. And I've got 2 more to go. And this one's going to go up on top. Push it through. I'm going to see how they're turned. I think a little overlap I think is cute. I don't want it to come across on my stitching that there's going to be a stitch line across the top near the zipper. This one might catch, so you're going to have to fold it back, but this one I've turned it so it doesn't catch. I'm going to add that piece to the back here. Doesn't want to go. There we go. Snap. And I'm going to put it in the machine, or sorry, in the press again, making sure my flower hasn't shifted. There we go. I'm going to feel it seated properly and make sure this one is upright. I'm going to gently come down, make sure it catches in the center, and give just a press down. There we go. As long as the rivet is not larger than your die divots, then you should be good. They're not going to crimp it or have a problem. If your die is smaller, then you'll have a problem. If the die is larger, it's not going to be that big of a deal. I'm going to press down a little bit. There we go. So I've got my flowers. We're going to head back over to the cutting table real quick so I can talk about this at the cutting table. Alright, so we have our panel made. This is our front panel for our 5x7 zipper pouch. Everything's secured and ready to go. And I use, since it's a lined 5x7 zipper bag, so there's no bulk and stuff, I don't use tearaway. I use a really thin cutaway for this one. So this will be the zipper bag made with cutaway. The other ones are made with tearaway. And I've got my pieces all ready to go. I have my liner, my back piece, and this will be our front panel. And we'll show you at the machine how this is all going to go in and be set and have our nice little bag with our 3D flowers. Let's head on over to the machine. Alright, we're at the machine and we're now going to assemble our bag. This will be the fun part, and a quick part too. So the first thing I'm going to do is put, I have my stabilizer on my hoop, I'll put my hoop in, and I'm going to stitch out the placement line for the zipper. Alright. I'm going to, you can't tell, but it's in white, sorry. But here I can hold that up a little bit, you can see where it is. So this is my zipper up top. With my bags, if you're doing my designs, I place my zipper so that the opening is on the right side and you're going to pull it from the right to the left. So this is the way my bags are made. The reasoning I do that is because my theory, and I say it in all my videos that I do for bags, is that if the wrist hanger is on one side, then as you hold your bag and you have a little zipper pull or something on your zipper, you want the zipper at the bottom. I feel that if the zipper's up here and it's got a zipper pull by chance and you're hanging it and it hangs on your wrist and maybe it's hanging down this way, that zipper can come undone this way. So I'm like showing that the zipper can come in. So if the zipper's already closed, then there's no weight of gravity to open it. So that's my theory of it and why I do my zipper bags this way. So when you're making my bags, you'll have to put the zipper this way, otherwise it's going to go sew right across your zipper and you're going to have a hard time opening your zipper. If you're good enough, more advanced, some will leave, and I do. I leave this on the inside of my bag, so I line it up just so that the silver part of the zipper is on the inside of my bag, so that when I do unzip it, I'm not going to end up zipping off, just in case the stitching might come undone or something. You never know. This is where the wristlet part loop is going to be. So just for that case and that zipper part pulling out, I've seen it on a couple designs, I have that left inside. So I'm going to tape down my zipper. I'm going to line it up. There is a spot down the center, which is where you'll line up your zipper down the center, and then you're going to make sure that the sides of the zipper also are inside the other guidelines as well. And I will put a little piece in the center just to make sure that my zipper, while it's sewing, doesn't move. And then I will take these pieces off after. And my zippers are a little high, and the reason why I make my zippers high up top of my bag is so there's more room down here to put your stuff. If you put a zipper down the middle, you're trying to shove something here, and the space up in the top of your little zipper bag is kind of useless because you're, trying to wedge it into your zipper. So I put my zipper up towards the top. And then we're going to place it back into the machine, and it's going to tack down our zipper onto our stabilizer. Alright, I'm going to remove my tape that's on my sides here. I'm going to leave my tape at my ends for now, just to make sure, double security of keeping that zipper down. So I have my two pieces. This will be done at the same time. Other bags may not be. So my bags are done in one swoop so that we don't have to go back and forth and in and out of the machine. So I'm going to use a tacky spray. Just a little bit. And I'm going to do my straight edge, straight line, and I'm going to line it up on top of my zipper. And secure it. You can use tape to secure yours, but I'm using a 5x7 in a 5x7 hoop, so things are going to be a little tight. So I tack that down, and then my panel piece, which is having our 3D flowers, I'm going to go ahead and do a little tacky spray on this one. And that upper straight edge that we cut, that we made sure was a straight cut, right underneath that stitch line, we're going to put that right up at our zipper. And then there's also a guideline here, which is the side of the zipper bag, so that I know it's going to be centered. And you can kind of tell when you place it where the bag's going to stitch up at the end. We want to make sure that this flower is going to be on the inside of that line. There we go. I'm going to tack this. I use the tacky spray, so it's going to be easy to, it just stays in there. Or you can tape the sides down. One of the ways that I was checking to make sure was I put my nail or my finger right on that little stitch line, and I lift up my side. And by doing so, I can actually, from where my fingernail is, I am right at that stitch line. So everything's going to line up great. And just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and fold this little flower back and tape the one petal for a second, just to double check that when it does my zipper line, it's not going to catch in that. I'm going to put it back So let me show you where I did. I just taped it for a second and taped it over, so when I run it, it won't. Okay? So this next one's going to run across the zipper and around to keep the panel down. Alright, so it worked great. I'm going to go ahead and keep that tape because we're going to do one more stitch across the zipper line when we're adding our liner. So now we're going to flip over and we're going to cut out the cutaway right where the zipper is. You want to do that now before we add the liner. That way we'll know where the zipper is and how to line the liner up. Alright. So I've got my top piece and I've made my hem and I've got my bottom piece also with the hem. And I'm going to do just a tiny bit of tacky on this. There we go. And that's going to line up right above my zipper opening. And this will be right below the zipper. Making sure it's centered. And then I'm actually going to give a little bit of tape also secure. That's why I said I just enough tacky to keep me in place, but I'm also going to tape it just to be more secure. You don't want to press too hard. You want to make sure that you're not displacing it out of the hoop. So we're all set. Everything's lined. My zipper is right here in the middle, the opening, and I'm right at the top and bottom. There's going to be a line that stitches on these two, tacking down. I'm going to turn it over carefully, press a little bit to make sure that tape is keeping my fabric secure in the right spot. And I'm going to put it back in my hoop, and I'm going to lift and be very careful and check underneath to make sure nothing got caught or dislodged. And we're now going to sew out just the bean stitch which is holding at our zipper. I'm not going to do extra stitching around the bag yet. So it's just enough at the top to hold on to that liner. Okay, and that little spot that it did, that's gonna that shows me where I'm gonna add my D-ring hoop. And I've got the D-ring hoop because I'm gonna add a wristlet to it, which has the hook on the wristlet, or you can add the loop with a lobster claw if you want, so that you can clip this to something else. So usually the smaller bags have the little coin purses have the lobster claw. So I'm going to get a piece of tape. I'm going to make sure that the D-ring is on the inside of the bag. I'm going to be right near the zipper is how I want it. I don't want a whole lot hanging out. I like my D-ring closer to my bag than it dangling. So I tape it down, tape the D-ring down in the corner here. Make sure the metal piece is a little bit out of the way. And I'm going to stitch, tack down that part. Alright, undo my little flower now. And the next part I'm going to now add the top, which is now the back of the bag. So I'm going to put that over top. It's going to sew all the way around. And this is where, whoop, almost forgot. We are all human, almost forgot. We're going to undo our zipper. Oh, got caught on my tape. There it goes. And I'm going to undo my zipper all the way. and then I'm going to place the vinyl on top. And I'm going to secure it a little bit, just so it doesn't shift on me where the bulky part is. And a little bit on this side too. I'm going to put it back in, making sure nothing has shifted or lifted. We're all set. And I'm going to now stitch out all around to hold down our back vinyl piece. Alright, we're going to check the back. Everything's stitched out good on this, stitched out good on the front. Now we're going to add our back piece, our final piece for the liner, and we will be done with the machine. So we'll make sure, this one you can't tell, but if there's a pattern, you're going to relay right side and right sides together if there's a pattern on it. But this one, they're pretty much all the same. Same color, same everything, so there's no right or wrong to this side of this fabric. But I'm going to go ahead and add this to the back, and then this is where I would add my label, which fell on the floor. So I'm going to add my label on this, and I want to put my label right by my zipper, where I first open my zippers, where I like to put my labels. And get that out of the way. So secured my label, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my back piece, and we're going to center it over. I want to leave a little more towards the bottom. The reason why we're leaving a little more towards the bottom is because the bottom's going to have an opening, and that opening is going to fold under, and we're going to use, you can either sew it together. I use a little strip of heat and bond on it, or hem, steam a hem. So I like to keep a little bit left at the bottom of the bag, so when I turn it I will have a hem to crease and attach the seams heat and bond to. So I'm going to tape my sides just to secure them. We don't use any tacky on this part, obviously. We want to keep it nice. So tape down secure. I'm going to turn it over a little quickly, then I'm going to push down on those tape spots just to double check and make sure my tape is secure and holding my fabric. I'm going to gently put it back in my machine, lifting up again, making sure nothing's catching. We're ready to go. And our last stitch. Alright, we're all done with that. Back side is great. We always look before we unhoop. I've done that a couple times. Lesson learned. Always check, make sure everything's good before we unhoop it. I'm going to take my tape off, and we are going to head back over to the cutting table to finish our bag and show you how we seal it up, cut it out, and all kinds of good stuff, and how we're going to finish this bag and how beautiful it's going to look when we turn it. See you at the cutting table. Alright, we're all done. We're going to unhoop and we're going to cut away our and cut around our design and snip our corners, and then I'll show you the turning of it, and then I'm going to do the heat and bond. So here we go. Alright, so I've cut all around. I've left a little bit on my zipper sides, so that in case anything happens, and I've noticed some people having trouble that their zipper pulls out because they've cut it too thin and it just leaves some pressure on those stitches and sometimes it's not stitching properly. I have a little notcher that helps on the corners. Oops. Kind of a cute tool, nice little handy thing to have. So it just kind of helps. That one I cut a little short on that one. If you do leave a little bit, just enough to help cut little slippery things. There we go. This one might be a little bit bulky because of the zipper in the corner being closed. So, and with pinking shears it helps too. So I've got my corners cut, nipped, and the first thing we'll turn is the liner portion. That'll be the part. I'm going to cut some of this away. If your tearaway or your tearaway will be gone, but like if you use a little bit heavier stabilizer, I just kind of get rid of it so there's no bulk at the bottom of your bag when we're turning it, and then we're going to be hemming it in there. So kind of get rid of some of that. So to turn the bag, if it's really stiff vinyl that's it's just, you know, hard to turn, a little stiff, you can heat it up a little bit and with the light iron over top of it to warm it up, and that'll help it turn, or hair dryer will help it turn in that. But one of the little tricks is to turn this edge out first at your top of where your opening is. If you turn that part first and get those corners pushed out, then the rest of your bag will start rolling out really easy. Alright, and this is just the liner part, so it's pretty easy to turn this part. I'm going to push out the corners a little bit so we can get it to be straight. And we're going to push this bottom corner out. And it tore a little bit there. Alright, and now for this part, we're going to fold up and then fold the top of our liner in. So you want it to be like this. So you can either sew that up, hand sew it like that, and just use the ladder stitch, or I'm going to use the heat and bond. So it's a little strip that's like hem tape, heat and bond. One side is ironing, the other side is paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my iron real quick, and I'm going to put a strip of this on here, and then I'm going to fold it in. Once it's cooled, tear off that paper and then lay this on, and I'm going to iron this over top of it. So I'm going to, you know, I tuck it in a little bit and I measure it. That's about what I need. And I'll be right back. Alright, I've sealed it, it's closed. I don't have to worry about it, didn't have to sew it, it's done with the heat. So then what I'm going to do now is turn the rest of my bag out. And the same thing, I'm going to start with these ends first, pull them out, and the rest of the bag follows pretty easy. If it's tough, same thing I said, just warm it up a little bit in front of space heaters, what I've been using during the winter time. But summertime, like if it's really stiff, this happens to be a nice pliable. But I'll use, just like I said, a hovering and iron over it, or I'll put some fabric on it and use the iron. Don't press too hard, you don't want that fabric heating up into the vinyl and melting it. But this one's pretty pliable, so it's really kind of an easy one to turn. Don't even need my turning sticks for this. Poking out the corners is pretty easy, working really well. So there we go. Finished bag. Just roll that over. Same thing. To get it to roll, I'm going to heat it up and then set it under a book. Light iron helps to heat. You know, you're just going to like hover over it, put a fabric over it, and just lightly, don't even press, just heat it and then lay it under a book. That's one way of getting it to work. This actually is working pretty nice. Zipper closed. And there's our 3D. I'm going to finish it off. So I didn't know whether I wanted to do my flower or yellow to go with the gem. I'll go ahead and put the pink flower on the zipper. I always finish my bags off with some sort of a zipper pull. And I have the hand. It's the only strap I had, so strap on there, and we'll, whoops, My hook. So here we are, the 3D floral little zipper pouch. This is the 5x7 with a liner. It's got the little pink liner in there. Let's go with the pink flowers. Little zipper pull on it. Like I said, my bags are made this way so that when they're hanging down and it's on your wrist, the zipper's already hanging with my zipper pull, so it's not going to go anywhere. So if by chance that zipper is up here with the zipper pull, never know if gravity could pull it or something, and then it's going to end up unzipping your bag. So, and then it's cute to have it dangle down here while you're carrying it instead of something up here that gets kind of lost. So just my theory. It's not something you have to do, but my designs are made this way. So if you do happen to get one of my designs, my zipper goes from the right to the left. So this is the 3D, this is the 6-point double, the double 6-point flower 3D zipper bag. This is the 5x7 bag. I'm sure I'll be making them in larger sizes as we go along. I have 2 other designs as well with 3D flowers on them. I have a tall bag as well coming, 2 more tall bags. So this is the one made by Bad Bobbin, and cute it turned out. And the one has a little sparkle on it. So if you enjoyed my video, give me a thumbs up, comments down below, subscribe, ring that bell. You'll get more notifications of more items that I have out coming or designs I'm doing, and you'll get some ideas and ways of making my items. So thanks for joining, and hope you enjoyed.